Gigi with FoodWISE, and I continue with this subsection called A Window into My Beliefs. And then I'm going to stop before being FoodWISE in the kitchen so I can talk a little bit about higher education and being resilient. Today, I still decide what to eat based on what tastes good. I enjoy the fresh fava beans from my friend's garden on Orcas Island, the crispy sprouted almonds I prepare myself, my partner's venison, the dandelion wine I make in memory of Ray Bradbury's fantasy novel on whatever day of summer I choose for the harvest, or whatever day of spring. I've got some dandelion wine right over there, fermenting right now. These foods taste good to me. They also involve a little bit of cooking, handling, and experimenting. They make meals not just a task in the day, but part of that day's experience, allowing me to participate fully in the agricultural web, not unlike my mother's weekly visits to local farmers and grocers when I was a child. I think a lot about my mother when I'm in the kitchen and whenever I'm exploring the larger world of food. I'm reminded of her when I read works by people like food writer and gastronome extraordinaire M.F.K. Fisher, with whom I share my no-nonsense approach to cooking. I love this quote from Fisher's How to Cook a Wolf about the value and dignifying nature of cooking, which allows us to nourish ourselves with all possible skill, delicacy, and ever-increasing enjoyment. And with our gastronomical growth will come inevitably knowledge and perception of 100 other things, but mainly of ourselves. I too believe the same. I believe whole, unprocessed food is nourishing. I believe in making my own food when possible. I believe that the more connected I am to the source of my food, the more rewarding my experience of eating can be. I believe you can find that connection too. Cooking is something I do with my students in my classes. This quarter, no. In one of my classes, we have potlucks each week. Last quarter, I had 140 students in the class and we had potlucks. 40 or 50 people would cook at a time. This quarter, maybe 30, 35 people would be cooking. Our classes are online now, and we're doing the best we can to deliver the best classes that we can, because we don't know how long this is our new normal. And so we try and make connections in a number of different ways to keep students engaged, to keep the faculty doing the best job they can. And so I've included a link here to an article from the Chronicle of Higher Education that my good colleague Michael Medler sent me. And the Chronicle of Higher Education is kind of the premier publication for news and for advertising positions even in higher education. And it talks about different cases at universities and colleges and who's doing what and who's planning for what, because fall quarter and fall semester looms large for us. Registration is just in a couple of weeks. So what mode of delivery are we going to have? What mode of delivery can we afford? And what mode of delivery can students afford? That's what's being discussed in the article. What about planning and budgeting? And I've mentioned this before, I know in previous videos. Who's doing what? And what are our sources of information? I'm very invested in this process at my own institution because the students are my work. So we need to know what resources we've got to provide to the students for fall quarter, given a number of contingencies. So these are the kinds of topics and ideas, questions that are asked in the article in the Chronicle, which I invite you to read.